Well, greetings and welcome to another episode of Lightbulb Moments. I think this is like episode number 211 or 2012, 212. It's been a lot. And I would say out of these Lightbulb Moments sessions that we've had over the last almost 6 years, probably about 20% of them have covered the subject of data. That is a subject that we will cover today through a guest, as well as some of my own commentary. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. I'm Tom Kuhn. I'm your host, and I want to thank you for spending your precious attention and time with us today. And whether you're joining us live, which is most every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time, or listening to the podcast, or viewing us on YouTube, we're glad you're with us today. Please feel free to put any comments, and we love getting what your insights might be in these sessions. So a shout out to a couple of our sponsors, Lightbulb, the CPAs, which is very relevant to today's conversation because they have been a great source of data collection and a great collaborator with us. And Zenoti also is a sponsor of this format. So thanks to both of those companies. We have, I'm going to get myself centered here. And so let's have a conversation about data. As I mentioned, it is one of the frequent topics on this session, Lightbulb Moments. And usually there has been a call to action, or there's been an update on data, or there's been a variety of different elements to this with some great guests, including today's guest, which I'll get to in a little bit. I'm going to start really with some commentary on data, and then I'm going to invite our guest to the conversation. So I'll start with a little bit of commentary first, okay? So I think it's a great opportunity to do a little bit of a reset and to make sure that our audience is aware of our involvement with data. And I'll really boil that down into two areas. Number one, our involvement in data comes from actually producing data and insights, which we have done since the inception of Qnity. With multiple studies, surveys, et cetera. But it took a whole nother level in 2022 when we really needed to, we found ourselves getting much more involved in data projects, and we separated and created a new division called the Qnity Institute, which is the data division of Qnity. We created some boundaries, extra security, in our data projects. And more importantly, as we moved into an era of what I think is unprecedented collaboration to come in the form of collaborating with top data scientists, including two PhDs from the University of Texas that we continue to work with. Also a great partnership with at least one CPA firm, Lightbulb, not to mention MBAs, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, those collaborations that came out of the data division of Qnity produced 4 major reports. 3 of them were compensation related, and one of them is profitability. And also we've done other side projects, et cetera. I'm super proud of the work, in particular the compensation studies, because when you talk about data, what really matters is the use of data, and the data out of those compensation studies have actually been beneficial to the industry. Most recently, Qnity compensation studies on December 19th was the lead source of data that was presented to the chief economist of the Department of Education. And we were able to present to him realities on actual compensation in the beauty industry, which has a direct impact on public policy. So anyway, it's taken a village to produce studies on compensation and profitability. Today is not necessarily going deep on either one of them, but by virtue of a reminder, I want to make sure our audience knows that what we have already produced, and not to forget about it because it's still relevant, 3 separate compensation studies in consecutive years, as well as infographics for each study. Same with profitability, full study, infographic. This is available to our audience, and in most cases, it's available to the industry, which takes us to the second area of where we get involved in data, and that really is to be an industry advocate and also participate in industry forums as it relates to data. Most recently, shout out to Serious Business, the conference. They actually gave data a voice main stage, and they had 4 representatives main stage. That was a wonderful segment at the Serious Business Conference. We were proud to be represented by Candice Gliato. She was a panelist, and I think what she did was she brought life to the data and was able to not only have the backing of great data behind her, but actually brought it to life in front of a live audience. Also, I have served on a group called Unite as One, which is most of the industry trade associations that have started to collaborate over the last 5 to 6 years, with data being a very regular topic. And then last November, there was some lengthy data-related conversations at the PBA Executive Summit through a Beauty Changes Lives Roundtable and a Unite as One meeting. Data is on a lot of people's radar these days for the industry. We may have some different points of view in the industry in terms of where the best starting points are or where we can get the most traction the quickest, but that part of what I do, Aaron does, now Candice does, is the second element. So providing data and then also serving as industry advocates and collaborators. There is an area of data that we get constant questions on, and it's not an area of data that we produce, but again, it's very relevant and needed. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to another data source that has recently become available in recent years with accelerated progress. A lot of hard work has gone into creating essentially a consortium of POS companies that together would allow their data to be used for the benefit of the industry. And with that, I'd like to introduce the conversation from representing the KIM report, which stands for Key Industry Metrics. It's Alain. I am so bad with your name, my friend. It's Alain Audet. Please give us the correct pronunciations and pardon the awkwardness. Good morning. How are you? Let's get you off mute, though.
Yep. There we go. Unmuted. You can hear me? Yes. Well, thank you very much. And I know my name is hard for the English-speaking people. It's actually sounds that don't exist in the English language. So it's Alain Audet. So people would say L-A-O-D, which is, I'm fine with it, but it's Alain Audet.
Well, thank you for doing the proper pronunciation, and thanks for being with us. And also thanks for being a great collaborator. What you have done is I'm going to let you tell a little bit about this more story of the KIM report, and then we're going to get into some data that's literally hot off the press, like last night, hot off the press. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. Last night.
All right. So let's give the group a little bit of background of the KIM report and what your role is, and then let's actually get into some of the data. Okay.
Perfect. The KIM report is actually a baby that was born from Salon Interactive. So this is the company that is behind it. So Salon Interactive was created maybe 10 years ago, and the purpose was to create more like an e-commerce platform for salons and a way for salon to retail products. So connectivity between the salons and the distributors, and with this, a connectivity with the salon platform. So with that came the expression of like, how can we start now giving the industry more data? Because like one thing I know we're going to come to, one question towards the end, you told me about getting a light bulb moment prepared. I actually prepared 3 just in case, depending on which direction this conversation is going to go. But I think most of our brands, manufacturers today are part of large conglomerates. So they have access for their mass market divisions. They have access to every single month and sometimes like on almost like a daily basis, their figures, their numbers, their performance in the market. I worked in those divisions, and we had access to like something like Nielsen IQ. So once a month, on the 10th of the month, our whole business strategy would change because whatever decision we had made based on our performance at that time, the previous month on the 10th, then we would be adjusting whatever it is, in terms of price points, in terms of promotions, in terms of even launches, and trying to understand and see the trends, which products were trending up, which products were trending down, which retailer was trending up, trending down, regions, and all of this. So this has been available for decades in the fashion industry, the retail industry, and of course the pharmaceutical and the drugstore industry. Professional beauty industry is so fragmented that this type of information was never previously available. Now, every software is able to come up with some of that data, but just by the reality of a software, it's somehow a little bit skewed because a software would have a sweet spot. They would have a target market. They have an audience where they actually fit better. And they would have a lot of the salons that would be in from that type of market. So some software are very strong with the one, two, the solos and the small businesses. Some are better with the mid-size. Some are better with the chain. Some are better with the franchise business. So it's impossible for one single software to have the data that would actually cover the whole industry. So that's the reason of a coalition of software in there. So what we are actually doing at the Kim report is getting data from, and that's important, it's anonymized data. So, and I explain afterwards, you know what it means, but I'll make sure for the audience that they know also everybody knows what it means. So we are able to receive data, anonymized data from our different software platform based on also a representation of the US salon industry. So we have access, we could have more, like we can access with our platform partners, we would have access to about 70,000 businesses. But then the report would be skewed, it would not be representative of the industry. So with that, we decided that the market would represent 220,000 independent businesses. So when we call like for the sake of the presentation today, a salon to me is a business unit. So a single solo or a salon with 20 chairs, I will refer to all of them as salons today. It's a business unit. So with our partners, we have access to data. So we selected, okay, well, we need so many in the 20 plus, so many in the 1019, so many in the 5 to 9, so many in the 3 4, so many in the 1 to enable us to have a full-on report that is statistically valid. So that's kind of like in a very short version of what we're doing. I'm sure you have tons of questions now.
Quick clarification question for you. And maybe when you say like 20 plus, 10 to 19, you're referring to the number of stations, correct? Or
Service
number of
providers.
chairs or columns. So you're
Columns. Yeah, let's call it columns. Yes, exactly.
okay. So columns, if we think in terms of columns, we're really thinking in terms of booking software. It's pretty
Yes.
visual. You can just see
Yes.
column one. And so you're describing is that you have really segmented based upon a business that would maybe have one or two columns, which would most likely be a solo.
Yes.
And then you
Our
have,
average for that cohort, the average service provider per door is 1.1. So I'm calling it the solos, but they're not all solos because you see some people in suites. There would be two people in the same suite
okay.
running one platform. So this is also possible. Or very small at-home salons or basement businesses that would have one service provider and an assistant or part-time person. So that would be like a two service provider unit.
Yeah, that segmentation is very important,
Yeah.
and it's certainly there's been a lot of iterations of the Kim report, and a lot of hard work and many years has gone into this, and that's not lost on me and I want to make sure on our audience too that this is not something easy to do, and it's been a multiple years. And shout out to Paul Tate.
Yes.
And other members of the team for their persistence in making this happen. And again, the kind of studies we're in, we're not doing the kind of studies you're doing. And that's the beauty
Exactly.
of collaboration.
Exactly. We really complete one another because we're looking at the industry from a different view completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's important is the Kim report, the data that we have is transactional data. So this is what's happening, not when people book an appointment, but it actually when people pay for their appointment. So really the transaction at the end. So what service they actually get billed for, what products or how many products they have actually purchased in that transaction, how many services they've had. So this is what we are tracking. So this is also very important that we are tracking the right type of business and also to make sure that we don't have fluctuations that would be new salons or things like that. We are looking also at salons that have a 24 months history within the same cohort and with the same software platform. So if a
Hmm.
salon today switches a software platform, it won't. First, because it's anonymized, we won't know that it actually switched. We just know that it's no longer with that software platform. So we have a salon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that suddenly is not reported on anymore. And now it's replaced by another salon as equivalent size that has 24 months history also with a software platform.
So, one of the things that, again, in the spirit of collaboration, I'm very pleased that we've been able to work together so that on a quarterly basis, we'll have access not to all the data points. I think maybe 5 out of the 13, something like that.
Yeah.
But we're pleased that on this forum, Lightbulb Moments, that on a regular basis, we're going to be featuring some of your data,
Thank
which
you.
I'm
Yes.
super excited about because our audience is going to be able to consume it. Because otherwise, to be able to get this data, it's not something that a salon would normally subscribe to. I mean, your subscriber is going to be more of like a beauty brand or a larger company, and not necessarily like an individual salon. Is that correct?
Exactly. So, two things in there. Our subscribers, like you said, they're brands, manufacturers, distributors. They could be associations as well. At some point, maybe consulting groups will have a partnership or a subscription model as well in there. Our goal is we do not want to charge the salon to get their data. Okay, so we don't want to create a subscription model for the salons. What we want is to be able to communicate the information, in platform like yours and some other platforms as well. So making sure that we communicate the right data. I mean, for you, for Qunity, we chose to actually go to the 10 plus salon. So we are compressing the 10 plus and the 20 plus together. And we created pretty much a Qunity report because it's something that we were not doing previously. At the same time, we have brands that we know because this is the market they're interested. This is how they manipulate the data that we actually give them because they have access to an Excel spreadsheet with the data and then they can play with it and make uh, the reports that they want, not just utilize whatever the Kim report on this platform is producing, but they're able to say, okay, well, I want to create this report and I want to follow this metric specifically, and this is what I'm presenting every month to my board or to my management.
Great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, and I certainly would say for our audience is that we do typically work with higher volume salons,
Mm.
but the bread and butter of our business is going to be that single location, salon. So I do think your segmentation, like 10 plus chairs, is really a good one. Do you want to get into some of the numbers?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, maybe give a shout out first to our partners because this would not be possible. And
Yes,
I know we will mention them at some point,
please.
but let's make sure that we don't forget them. So our technology partner today is we're talking with Rosie, Square, Forest, Envision, Aura, STX/Inspire. People know them as a CX now. They're called Inspire. And Vish, we collaborate with Vish as well. And we have a new platform partner that's just joined us that we will start integrating into our reporting, Mevo.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's yeah, I think it's really important to acknowledge the people that are playing, and you've done so, and thank you for that. Very
Thank you.
appropriate. So thanks to those brands and thanks to you. So let's dig in. Now, I have had the beauty of seeing this report for the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter, but what we have today is the ability to look at the whole year.
Yes.
So I will, I mean, I'm going to start with the sort of top line here,
Mhm.
which would be average revenue per salon and what that looks like from a growth standpoint. And then I'll let you kind of walk us through that data point, and then we get on to some of the others.
Yes. Just to explain the timeline, if you want. So around the 20th of the month, which was yesterday, actually, this is where our goal is to get closer and closer to the 15th, but somewhere between the 15th and 20th. Monday was a holiday, so that always complicates a little bit, but our goal is the 20th is being our last day. So we publish the prior month data. So usually that's on the 20th. And normally the quarter and the half year or full year right now would come 2, 3 weeks later, the time to do proper analysis and all that, and try to be out before when, because like companies like big corporations or public listed companies will do their quarterly report, like the Q4 would come out somewhere early February. So our goal is to make sure that we come out before that because we have the data available before. But today, because I was meeting with you and because we also have a meeting with our subscribers and a webinar at the end of the week with non-subscribers, our future subscribers, I should say, we squished everything in the same timeline. So it's very hot from the press, like you said. I was working on that till last night to make sure to finish everything. Our subscribers have received the updates, the updated access to the data and the monthly commentary. They haven't seen yet the quarterly or the full year commentary. So some of the information we're giving right now, no one has seen before.
Right. We love
So
that.
you're getting a big preview here.
And thank
Uh,
you for that.
so in general, of course, December like many year, December saves the year to a certain extent. So this is consistent with the previous year. December was very good, but it came after a November that was not so good at all. So the two put together, the third quarter was better than last year, but the third quarter was not necessarily for all our cohorts was not necessarily their best quarter.
I'm
For
sorry,
example,
you mean the fourth quarter?
the fourth quarter, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So October, November, December, that's the fourth quarter. So traditionally, that's the best quarter of the year because of the holidays and because of the gifts and because of the those sets and all of that. Of course, since COVID, there's been a shift, in that period of time because there's less parties. The parties are coming back, but people don't dress up maybe as much as they used to. There's not all these updos and also the appointments. Uh, uh, Calendar is not as packed as it was before and it's packed with different type of services as well. So November was a strong November for almost every cohort. The Q4 was strong as well. For example, in the revenue, so we're looking versus the previous quarter, it's a 5.6% increase. But if I'm looking at the full year for the 10 plus salons, we're looking at a 2.9% increase in the revenue per salon. With that comes a 2.8% increase in service tickets, so in the transaction value. So translation to that, a lot of that revenue increase is because of price increase. Because what we've seen is the unique visits. So we track unique clients and then we track unique visits because it's two separate things. I mean, you know that, but just to make sure that we explain why those two numbers are different. Because a client may come twice a month or 3, 4 times a month because they're a regular wash and blow dry client, for example. So it's a unique client, but 4 services in the same month. So we want to be able to track one or the other or be able to do extrapolations or derive one result from another. So the unique visit has grown only by 0.3% in 2025 versus 2024. This is in the 10 plus salons. Retail has dropped by 3.4%. And the number of services, okay, so we have the visits at 0.3, the services at 0.5. So very stable in terms of number, but one number that is interesting, and then we can dig into those numbers afterwards. We've seen a growth in staffing. So in the number of columns. So the 10 plus had an average of 13.77 employees or columns in the, or service providers, I should say, because they're not all employees. We don't know if they are employees or self-employed or commission or it's a team base. We don't know that because we don't have any information about the salon name or the staffing. We don't know who the people are. So we never get any personal information. It's entirely anonymized at that level. So we went from 13.77 to 14.07. So roughly a third of a person more. So a third of a person more generated very little additional income. So what we see is, and this is a danger. I mean, I was coming to that towards the end, but I'm there right now. One thing for the 10 plus salons, and I'm sure your all your coaches and your group is aware of that, is adding one staff does not necessarily always mean that you're adding income. Sometimes you're just splitting the income or you're splitting the clients between another person. So I think that will be one of the biggest challenge in 2026 for the larger salons. They have an influx of personnel, people wanting to work with them. I think this is good work from the salons to be able to recruit again. But now it's to make sure that that recruitment also comes with recruiting clients or retaining clients. I think this is going to be one of the biggest challenge in the industry next year, especially for, and we see it specifically for the 10 to 19 and even more for the 20 plus, because the 20 plus have added one extra staff. And at the end, when I'm looking at the, on average, one extra employee, and when we look at their revenue, total revenue this year versus last year, if we remove that employee, there's like hundreds of dollars more in their till than there was last year. So the difference is entirely one extra employee. This is where the value it came from for those salons. That's from our data. Of course, it changed from one salon to the other, you know, so it's not like we can't make a generalization of this is the situation in every business. That's what our data average is telling us.
So service is up, retail's down.
Yeah.
Average ticket is up. Number of client visits is flat.
Yeah.
And headcount, staying with headcount a little bit longer, I would imagine that, you know, new hires. So if somebody has 10 today and 11 tomorrow,
Yeah.
chances are the new hire is going to be a lower level individual, you know,
Yeah.
which means probably a lower average ticket, which means that, yeah, I just want to call that out.
Yes. So what we see, because interestingly, I have added calculations of my own because of my past as a coach and my past working with brands. I mean, I want to see different things. And when I was working for a large manufacturer, it was also my job to explain the data that we had available to the brand management, but also to go and explain it to the top management. Sometimes like, okay, what does that mean for this brand versus this brand? And what is the industry telling us? So where I was going is I take the, let's say our 14.07 here, and I do another calculation. I break it down as a per stylist number. And looking at that, in the 20 plus, when I'm looking at that column, when I make this, when I derive these numbers, the the growth per stylist, there was a little growth as well of income. So even adding that extra stylist did not drop their average. So somehow that stylist came, or the revenue distribution make it so the average per stylist did not drop. So that's in our statistics. But I agree with you. Chances are that it was a junior that came in, or a lower level, level one, level two employee, or an apprentice that actually got in the books and maybe charges for blowout and for treatments and things like that, but may not have a full schedule. So that could have an impact as well.
Yeah, super interesting. And then at the very beginning, we looked at overall salon sales growth, which
Yeah.
was 2.9% for the year, a little under 3%. And what you're suggesting is that a large portion of that came from price increases. I mean, the numbers certainly would indicate that, but I want to call out that insight.
Well, and especially what we do again with are deriving numbers from numbers, what we see, color revenue was up, color number of color services was down, and so we know there's a higher revenue. So is it a price increase or a higher, more services? So we're not sure. Actually, the number of services has not gone up so much. So there is a price correction or price adjustment that happened there. But what we see when we actually take the service revenue minus the color revenue, and we're looking at other services, the non-color services, this is where the growth has happened. So there's two possibilities in there, and this is where in the future, because that was one of my light bulb moment, I'm going to put it right now. Data is like a bag of chip. You can't just look at one number, you need to finish the bag. Okay, it's like you have one number, you want to know the next, you want to derive the numbers, you're
Wait, hold
trying to
on.
get more. Hmm?
Hold on. Say that again. It's like a bag of chips, you
Bag
said.
of chip. You open the bag of chip, you can't just have one. You're going
Okay.
to see the bottom of that bag. You're going to eat the whole bag. So I think data is like a bag of chip. You can't just be satisfied with one number.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
moment we give you a number, you want more, you want more, you want more until, okay, this is everything we can get out of this bag. So now you want another bag. So
Yeah.
we haven't emptied the bag yet, so we're asking a lot of questions. So this is where deriving numbers from numbers is level one, if you want, in there. But Kim Report is actually has a roadmap of new features coming up in this year. So maybe we'll have time to talk about the roadmap a little bit. But it's just like when I'm deriving here, what I see is the non-color services revenue have grown. So either people have increased their prices for services, for haircuts and blow dry, or because of the stability of the number of services there, maybe there's other services that were added, like scalp treatments or add-on services that are not color related. So, but that's where, when I said our roadmap, we are working now on product taxonomy and service categorization to be able at some point to be able to respond to that question saying, oh, it's the scalp treatments that made the difference. I don't know that now. I'm assuming it's scalp treatment because it's very trendy. I'm assuming there's a revenue, and especially in the 10 plus, there chances are that these are the salons that are looking into that type of services. So maybe, but I don't know that for a fact right now.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, what other light bulb moments do you have as long as we started there?
uh, so I when I first started in the industry, I had people were telling me numbers about profitability of salon, about retail to service, retail to revenue percentages, and whatever. So there was like at that time it was anecdotal data that were repeated so often that they became industry believe truths or baseline. So I feel like our industry is still like a plane flying in the fog. We are relying on some data, some instruments, but we're not sure where we're going. We don't have all the information. So I think this is where we're going now, trying to get the right instruments to see through that fog.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a very true and great analogy, actually. Okay. Uh, yeah, and it's driven you in your career, like many of us in the industry. I mean, you can only fly in the fog so far or be with so many people flying in the fog before you're like, you don't need to fly in the fog. I mean, you can fly with an instrument panel
Yeah.
that has key indicators for you that allows you to calibrate the instrument of travel in a way that's, for you to make winning decisions that have great outcomes. So, hmm.
Yeah. When I started in the industry, what surprised me the most was that salons did not have a software just to track their retail sales, their transactions, and all that. So it was, I would come to a salon and I would help them with the order, and they were like, "Well, I haven't sold all this." I was like, "Well, there's two options: you sell it or it's stolen." Because it's not on your shelves, it's not in your back store. So let's try to figure out where the merchandise is going. So that was really focusing on retail because the brand I launched was a pure retail brand. So, but it's like, how do you get more information? How do you know what's selling? When is it selling? When did you run out, for example? So you make sure that you have more stock on yourselves and you never miss on any sales. So that was kind of like the beginning of all of this. So, data was always something that I was trying to get. I did that, that way, and then started working with Salon software. With Paul, actually, you mentioned Paul Tate earlier, did a first iteration of a panel for the Canadian market with the manufacturers and one software. And that was not enough because the challenge is volume. You need, in order for your statistics to be relevant, you need a certain number of doors in order for the statistics to be right. Like in the US right now, we are reporting on 10,875 salons. And that number from all the statisticians that we work with and everything is considered to be statistically sound. With the addition of more software platform, our goal is to increase that number to 15,000 because also we're trying to the next that's coming in the next month is regionalization. So because now our numbers are national. We will be able to break it down now in 6 geographical regions. So being able to say, well, Midwest versus national, for example, or Midwest versus Northeast. So we'll be able to look at these data. So a salon, when they have access to more of that data through those communications or articles or blogs or all the scenarios that we'll be using, like, well, I'm in the Midwest and I carry this brand, so I'm curious about what's happening in the Midwest for that type of market. So this is the type of things that we will be able to do very quickly.
You know, would you define the term panel? I don't think a lot of our listeners really understand what that is.
Well, panel is a group that represent a total. So in that, like I said earlier, that we estimated this is our group, our advisory council. We have an advisory council from the industry that is not participating directly in any of the work that we do, that is actually checking on us. Like every quarter, we meet with them, we say where we are, we show them the work that we do. We make sure that we prove that our the data privacy that we have is very an independent oversight. We make sure that they support this. So with that, we came up with there's 222,000 individual independent salon businesses in the United States. So that does not include, this is like salon. Okay, we're not talking barbers, we're not talking about franchise group, we're not talking about the chain salons. It could be a multi-door, but it's not a very large chain with 500, 600 doors, for example, because we don't have their platform. One day, hopefully, this is part of the whole collaboration in the industry. We're already in conversation with one of those large chain who would be interested to start sharing their data, so we're able to compare the different type of data. And that would be interesting because with the average price point, we'll be able to look also, okay, well now one segmentation we haven't done yet, we're doing segmentation based on number of columns. I would like to be able to do a segmentation based on average price transaction because we have, value salons, we have mid salons, and we have luxury salons. It'd be interesting to be able to drop this. So to come back to the story of a panel, knowing that there's 222,000 businesses, so statistically, it was like we need between 8,000 to 15,000 salons in a panel. So this is kind of like what represents the whole. This is the 10,875 I was telling you, that's our panel.
Yeah, it's a grouping. Like, for example, with our studies, some of them were more one and done, reach out, participate in the study and then see you later. And we're moving also more towards a panel, which means it's the same companies that agree to do this over time.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so you're not always going back to the well to say, hey, participate, hey, participates. It's like you just agree that you're going to be part of this data group that that provides meaningful data, that has agreements. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah. And
Anything
that's
else?
part of when I was telling you the history, the fact that this salon, we need salons that have 24 months of data available,
Mhm.
so we don't have a brand new salon or just a switch from one software to the other where suddenly there's a lot of gift cards and series that get transferred into the new business and the numbers just skyrocket because people are trying to use up their cards or whatever it is. So we actually make sure that the data excludes the outliers and have every business that is reported on has a 24 months of history. But again, these businesses don't sign up, those salons don't sign up with Kim Report because it's anonymized. It's
Yep.
coming from their salon software.
Yeah. Gotcha. Is there anything else from the data that you want to share before we start moving into wrap? Any other key insights that you have?
Uh,
Understanding that
yeah.
you're getting your first glimpse at this yourself, given that last night you were probably burning the candle to even get ready for today because you've got your subscribers coming up today. So, anything else jump out at you though?
Well, there's one data that when I share this, especially with color manufacturers, and the other day I was sharing it with Gordon Miller that everybody knows, and he was also surprised with that number, is when we look at the weight of color business. So if you ask anybody for a salon, what's the weight of color business? Everybody has an opinion or has a number that they think is the right number. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think is the right number?
I'll bite. I'm going to say 40 to 45%.
Okay. Well, you are exactly the 10 plus salons are in that range. They're at 43.9%.
Not
But
bad, huh? Okay.
when I'm
Yep.
looking at the industry as a whole, the industry as a whole is at 38.6%.
Mm, mm.
And I'll give you the cohorts. So the 1, 2 are at 34.6. The 3, 4 are at 29.3. The 5, 9 at 41. The 10 to 19 at 45.6. They're the one leading in terms of weight of color business. And the 20 plus are at 40.1.
40.1.
40.1, yes.
I do find that super interesting. Do you have any insights on that?
Uh, I think it's when we look at the amount of services also in a salon, because when I'm looking at the average number of services per service provider, and then I'm trying to do another extrapolation divided by 20 hours, 35 hours. So assuming that a stylist works 35 hours a week, I see that especially the 3 to 4 have the lowest number of clients per day.
Mhm.
So I don't know if this is why it impacts their color weight of business. I don't know because they may be spending more time or they more specialized, which is what we don't know yet, in terms of the data. Maybe so we have some of these salons are not doing any color or very little amount of color, where the larger salons have a tendency to be more color focused. A smaller salon may be more haircut focus or maybe other type of services focus as well. I mean, it could be uh, maybe that salon does more or some of those salons that are more into extensions, so the revenue is more towards extensions. So I think in a smaller salon there could be more specialization that's happening that is not necessarily just color.
Good stuff. I'm glad that you shared that. My mind's turning on that last category there in terms of the size and as it relates to color and all of that. So, all right. Well, listen, this is really good stuff. A couple things about you. So you live in Montreal,
Yep.
been in the industry for a couple of years, huh? How many years?
26 years in the
26.
beauty industry, like professionally. Quick background, I am a trained makeup artist.
Ah, I didn't know that.
I am a salon trained colorist. I worked in one of those small salon, 2 people for 2 years. Then that was my weekend job, if you want. I was working as a educator for at a college level for fashion school. Then did my MBA and ended up working, moving to Singapore, working for education and in luxury retail. So that was my turn back to luxury retail. And from there, that got me back into the beauty industry to launch Kerastase in Canada in 2000.
You got a husband, you got a couple kids, and you got a Yorkie, right?
A husband, two adult kids, 23 and 18, or 23 soon and 18 now, and a Morkie.
Morkie, you said.
Yes. Maltese and Yorkshire Terrier mix.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
Fluff ball.
Before we wrap up, any other final light bulb moments? They
I said I had prepared three, and I don't find my third one right now. I think it's really data is for you, for me, and I think for the salon, for the industry, data is something that everybody is hungry for. It's something that we're just starting to dig into properly, I think. And I think especially the collaboration. When you mentioned all the different groups, the BCL, we were part of that conversation as well. I think the associations, we have PBA that we're working with also, and the distributors and manufacturers. I think this collaboration is extremely important. And because there's not just one source of data, people need different data, different sources, different lens in order to apply to their type of business. But we need all those lenses to be going. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for inviting me today to be able to talk about what we're doing. And I'm looking forward to collaborating more and more with Unity.
Let's give this guy a virtual round of applause for
Thank
those of you
you.
that are with us live today. And if you're not with us live today, put a note in there. Thanks for the work that you're doing and sharing with us. You will be getting a $1 million light bulb, by the way.
Thank you.
So watch for that in the mail. And that brings you into what we call our brain trust, which is past guests that have been in this forum. So thanks for spending your precious time, for allowing us to have access to the data on such a real-time basis, and agreeing to do this really more or less the same day it's coming out. So we're
Yeah,
thrilled. And this isn't our last conversation. As I mentioned, we do definitely want to feature this data on a quarterly basis, and then watch for other forums to get involved with the Kim report. I know they do webinars and what have you. So I totally agree with you. It does take a village of data, and we have our different lanes. And the good news is that if the people in the different lanes work together, we're able to create a much clearer, complete picture in the industry's reality and be able to navigate and not be flying in the fog.
exactly. Yes, thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of the day, and thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us. The rest of you, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And just appreciate all of you for tuning in. All the best, everybody. Thank you.